My boy Cam Newton has been in the headlines a lot lately, at least the past couple of weeks. You know, I have never understood why Cam Newton is one of the more polarizing quarterbacks in the NFL. He has never been arrested, never had any off-the-field issues, at least that I can remember. There's no scandals tied to him. Yet, it seems like he can just be in a bad mood one day, and it makes national headlines, creates a media frenzy. People have now found a way to make his contract with the Patriots into some type of polarizing situation. People cannot quit talking about the fact that Cam Newton signed with New England for basically pennies on the dollar. $1 million for 2020, at least in guaranteed money anyway. With incentives and roster bonuses, he maxes out at about $7.5 million next year, or this coming up year. Why is this a problem? I have seen talking heads try and tie race into this. Tie Cam Newton's race into his contract. This never would have happened to a former MVP white quarterback. I am so sick and tired of race being pulled into everything lately. I didn't hear people come to the defense of Jay Cutler when he went from a $127 million contract in Chicago to a $5 million contract in Miami back in 2017. Why did that happen? Because Jay Cutler's production had dropped dramatically. It is the same thing with Cam Newton. NFL teams are not in the business of committing millions of dollars to quarterbacks that have fallen off production-wise, especially if it's been a yearly trend. It's just not smart business. It has nothing to do with Cam Newton's race. Now, to his credit, Cam Newton has done everything correctly. He's done everything right. He views this as an opportunity, a chance to revitalize his career. He's looking at Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick as two guys that are taking a chance on him, albeit a chance with very little risk, but a chance that no one else in the league was willing to take. But they are giving him an opportunity to keep his NFL career alive. A career that was on life support last month. New England is treating him a hell of a lot better than the Panthers have. When Carolina fired Ron Rivera and hired Matt Rule, it wasn't hard to figure out that Cam Newton's days in Carolina were numbered. When Matt Rule had his introductory press conference back in January, I came on this channel, I told you guys that Carolina was moving on from Cam Newton. Matt Rule basically said as much in his presser without actually saying it. It makes sense though. I get where the Panthers were coming from. In most cases, when a team fires a long-tenured head coach, brings in a new guy, they're moving out of that old era. The franchise quarterback is the next to go. In most cases, not all, but in most. It's how Carolina handled this whole Cam Newton situation that really bothered me. Cam Newton did more for the Carolina Panthers than any other player in the franchise's history, except maybe Steve Smith. Before I get into why it bothered me so much with how the Panthers as an organization handled this whole situation, let me explain the impact that Cam Newton had in Carolina. The Carolina Panthers came into the NFL back in 1995. They were part of the expansion that also included the Jacksonville Jaguars. Until Cam Newton was drafted in 2011, the Panthers had never had a franchise quarterback. This team went 16, 17 years without a franchise quarterback. It was basically a quarterback carousel in Carolina the first 16, 17 years of the franchise. But KC, Carolina had Jake Delhomme. He led them to a Super Bowl. Jake Delhomme was not a franchise quarterback. We're talking about a guy that couldn't win the starting job in Cleveland in 2010 over Seneca Wallace and Colt McCoy. You're telling me that is a franchise quarterback? No. Don't even give me the argument that Jake Delhomme led them to a Super Bowl and a couple of playoff appearances, so he was a franchise quarterback. Jake Delhomme was a game manager. There's a difference. Cam Newton was the first franchise-level quarterback in Carolina. Before Cam Newton, Carolina had a combined record of 119 and 137. In the first 16 years of the franchise, they had 13 different starting quarterbacks. In those 16 seasons, 12 times they were 8-8 or worse. Like I said, only 4 playoff appearances in 16 years. For the most part, the Carolina Panthers were a laughingstock in the NFL. You fast forward to 2011. Panthers coming off a 2-14 season. One of the worst in the history of the franchise. They draft Cam Newton, number 1 overall. Overnight, the eyes of the National Football League are all on Carolina for the first time. At the time, Cam Newton was the hottest player coming out of college into the NFL that we had seen in years. Within 2 years, he leads the Panthers to 3 straight NFC South titles. The franchise had only won the division 3 times before Cam Newton got there. He wins the MVP in 2015, leads the Panthers to the Super Bowl, leads them to the playoffs again in 2017. Then we all know what happens. He gets hurt, and the Panthers haven't been to the playoffs since. During the Cam Newton era, going into every season, the Panthers were considered to be legitimate playoff contenders. The franchise went from 119 and 137 before he got there, winning 46% of their games, to 76 and 67, a 53% winning percentage. Cam Newton had a record of 68, 55, and 1. All of that is why I say that Cam Newton was the first franchise quarterback in Carolina. And all of that is why it pissed me off how they handled his exit from the organization. Matt Rule and management and ownership in Carolina completely screwed Cam Newton. It is as simple as that. And let me explain why I say that. Matt Rule was hired towards the beginning of January. At that point, the Ron Rivera, Cam Newton era was over. We all knew it. But they did not release Cam Newton immediately after hiring Matt Rule. Instead, they kept him hanging on a ledge. Matt Rule kept saying that he was looking forward to working with Cam and kept talking about how great of a quarterback he was. Then, NFL free agency starts. Fast forward a couple of months to March. NFL free agency starts. Day 1 passes. Cam Newton still signed with the Panthers. Day 2 passes. Day 3. Day 4. Day 5. Day 6. We get a week into NFL free agency, and the Carolina Panthers finally decide that they want to part ways with Cam Newton. Let me tell you why this is a problem. Why this was a calculated move by the Panthers. It is an example to every other franchise in the NFL on how not to handle the exit of a franchise quarterback. If you're an NFL free agent, time is of the essence. Teams spend the bulk of their money in free agency the first 1 or 2 days. So let's say that a team was interested in Cam Newton. Let's take Indianapolis, for example. They're waiting. They've got to have a quarterback for next season. They're waiting to see what Carolina does with Cam Newton. And waiting. They can't wait on him too long, or else every other quarterback in the league is going to get signed. So the Colts decide they're going to sign Phillip Rivers. Tampa signs Tom Brady. Other teams around the league pick up their starting quarterbacks for the year. Carolina, waiting a week into free agency to release Cam Newton, completely ruined his chances of getting signed somewhere to be the starter. By the time he was released, every team in the league had a starting quarterback for next season. Not only that, the Panthers are also to blame for the seriousness of Cam Newton's injuries. Remember when he got hurt last preseason against the Patriots? Carolina comes out and says, oh, it's a high ankle sprain. He'll be okay. No, it wasn't a high ankle sprain. It was a Lisfranc injury. Cam Newton should have been sidelined to start last season. Instead, the Panthers trot him out there in week 1. And of course, he aggravates the injury. To add insult to injury, it comes out after the fact that Cam Newton had been practically begging the Panthers to let him have surgery during the season on that injury. They wait all the way until December to finally pull the trigger on getting him surgery. Basically, they wasted 2 or 3 months of his recovery time. Then, they continued to pour salt in an open wound last month. Carolina sent out a tweet asking who is the GOAT in Carolina. The options to vote on: Julius Peppers, Steve Smith, Luke Kuechly. Cam Newton, the former MVP of the entire league, wasn't mentioned. He deserved better. Cam Newton deserved better from the Carolina Panthers for pulling a franchise from the dregs of the NFL to the top of the league, top of the division 3 years in a row in the NFC South, for turning an irrelevant franchise into relevancy, for building a fan base in Carolina, something that hadn't been done the first nearly 2 decades of the existence of the franchise. Cam Newton deserved better from the Carolina Panthers. It's completely inexcusable. I mean, it's not like there wasn't a blueprint out there for Carolina to look at on how to handle the exit of your franchise quarterback. Look how the Baltimore Ravens handled the exit of Joe Flacco. Look how the Colts handled the transition from Peyton Manning to Andrew Luck. That is how organizations with class handle the departures of their franchise quarterbacks. At the end of the day, Cam Newton's better off. He is better off in New England than he was with Carolina. Even though he is making far less money right now. He is with the best organization in professional sports, playing for the best coach the NFL's ever seen. It is going to work out for Cam Newton in New England. I'm telling you right now, Bill Belichick is hungry. He is eager to prove that he can win without Tom Brady. And Cam Newton's eager to prove that he still has what it takes to be a franchise-level quarterback. He is going to be just fine. It is going to work out for Cam Newton in New England. At the end of the day, he is better off in Foxborough than he was in Charlotte. All right, that's all for today. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button for me. Click the notification bell to receive all notifications from the channel. Appreciate you guys that have already done so. Leave me a comment in the section below. Do you think that the Carolina Panthers screwed Cam Newton over in the way they handled his departure? Let me know your thoughts. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. If you have any questions or a topic that you would like me to cover, you can email me at BTLKC84@gmail.com. I'll see you guys next time.